You probably know this, to be a bus rider, you have to be outside of a mile from the school. So conceivably, anything within a mile of the school.
I remember it.
It should be walkable.
Is it my turn?
Council call meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Prime. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Powell,
Here.
Councilmember Pryan,
Here.
Councilmember Kraft,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Goff, Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
We have a quorum. Personal appearances. Yep. Nope. State your name and address.
All right. My name is Stacy Smith. My husband and I have owned and operated Budget Self-Storage at 128 East Hargis Street for almost 20 years. Sorry, I get nervous. That's why my husband spoke last time.
Hold on a sec. Is that mic on?
Yeah, it's red.
Hold it down a little bit. You can probably see that. There you go.
Okay. Do you want me to start over?
There you go.
Do you want me to start over?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Stacy Smith at something address and
128 East Hargis Street. My husband and I have owned and operated Budget Self-Storage for over 20 years, or almost 20 years. We've also been a U-Haul affiliate for over 15. I'm here today to have it on record that we oppose the U-Haul moving and storage project. We are very knowledgeable about the U-Haul business and feel like you're not getting a complete picture of what to expect. First of all, anybody with a valid driver's license and about $100 cash can rent a U-Haul. The trucks, the trailers, and the towing equipment, no training provided, no professional prerequisite, any experience, no questions asked. Customers must be 16 years of age to rent trailers and 18 years of age to rent trucks. Second, the artist renderings are not accurately portrayed. I did have copies of the aerial views and street views on Google Maps from other locations similar in the Kansas City area. My particular location was limited on space and we kept our equipment to a max of 15 pieces. Corporate stores have much more space than that and they average 40 to 60 pieces of equipment. In the past, summertime we typically rented every single piece of equipment at least once a day. On Saturdays at the end of the month, we got 2 turns on each of those equipments. And that's just for my small location. Each time there was a rental, there was at least 1 car, if not more, for each renter. I feel that the graph that they presented for a weekday and weekend traffic is grossly undercalculated. I don't know if you guys can want copies of the views, but this one is Nolan Road and I-70, Metcalf, and then their Grandview location. You can see the amount of vehicles and trucks that they have to rent. Guarantee they're going to rent them as much as they can, as often as they can, to make their money. That's what they do. The other thing I want to mention is that I have 2 kids that go to Belton, go to school here in Belton. And when they were little, they didn't always look both ways before they crossed the street. There's a daycare directly across the street. There are excited and energetic little kids going in and out of their parents' vehicles. You should be worried about their safety when a 16-year-old who just got their driver's license is renting a trailer, or an 18-year-old renting a truck to head off to college with a 26-foot truck and an auto transport being towed behind it. The combined length of that is about 60 feet long. On the other end of that spectrum, renters that are 80 and plus years old probably shouldn't be driving at all. All they need is a valid ID and about $100. These trucks are big, unfamiliar to most people, and have huge blind spots. Keep in mind that U-Haul measures the box part of the truck for their measurements, not the cab, not the bumpers. I feel that there also needs to be more research done before this is voted on. I'm not sure if there'd be a possibility of a traffic study. done at similar locations that would be very beneficial before a decision is made to get an accurate traffic count. Also, logistically, maybe with the size, weight, and amount of traffic, that maybe considering it being a truck route. I don't know what logistics would need to be done for that, but that might be a possibility as well. The only question that I have for the council is I wanted to ask if the city provided any tax incentives for this project. And then if you have any other follow-up questions.
Any questions?
You're saying that you don't follow the same rental rules as what U-Haul is proposing?
No, well, we don't rent them anymore. After COVID, we stopped doing U-Haul rentals. But no, we followed the same rules.
Okay.
Those are the rules that they gave me. For 15 years, if you had a valid driver's license and $100 cash or whatever the deposit was, we rented to you.
Okay, thank you.
My fence that has been dented and dinged and repaired multiple times can tell you the inexperience that people that rent that.
All right. Thank you.
You didn't answer my question about the tax incentives.
Oh, no, there was no tax.
There was no tax incentives on that?
None whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Did you want the copies?
Leave them with Andrea right here, and she'll get them to us. All right, unfinished business. A, motion approving the final reading of Bill 2023-18.
Of the Code of Ordinances, City of Belton, Missouri, to conform to state law recording the operation of the City of Belton Municipal Court.
Present.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Member Pryan,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Lawson. Aye. Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion carries. B, motion approving the final reading of Bill 2023-19.
An ordinance approving the 15th Amendment to the Old Town Belton redevelopment plan to approve the 809 East Walnut Street project as redevelopment project 2023-2 and to authorize tax abatement as described therein.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we also need to add something to this. There's a Scribner's error. It has nothing to do with what's being voted on. It's the 14th Amendment, not the 15th Amendment. Oh, it is the 15th now?
It said 14th in the first
15th
reading.
last time. Okay, so this is correct. It said 14th last week, so it's 15th now. I can't remember. So it is correct this way. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Lawson. Aye. Goff,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Richardson,
Aye.
Pryan,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes. Motion carries. C, motion approving the final reading of Bill 2023-23.
An ordinance amending Chapter 11, Health and Sanitation, Article 4, Solid Waste, Section 11-106C of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Belton, Missouri.
Present. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Aye.
Pryan,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Lawson. Aye. Powell,
Yes.
Kraft.
Aye.
Motion carries. New business. Motion approving the first reading of Bill 2023-24.
An ordinance approving a rezoning from C2 General Commercial to M1 Light Industrial for a 5.81 plus or minus acre parcel lot located at the southwest corner of Cornerstone Drive and Stone Ridge Drive, and approval of a preliminary development plan for a U-Haul moving and storage facility on the subject project.
Present.
Sorry.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yep. Before this evening, our request to rezone property and approve a preliminary development plan for a U-Haul moving and storage facility, which is located at the southeast corner of Cornerstone Drive and Stone Ridge Drive in Cornerstone Point. The 5.81 acre property is currently zoned C2 General Commercial and is requested to be rezoned to M1 Light Industrial to allow the development of an indoor self-storage facility with truck trailer sharing and retail sales. The preliminary development plan includes 2 buildings totaling 54,560 square feet of floor space, which includes a 3-story self-storage building and a single-story building with a U-box for U-box storage. The single-story building will be slightly taller than the 3-story building to accommodate the U-boxes. The development plan does meet all requirements of the UDC, including all setbacks, building coverage, green space requirements, and parking requirements. The building has been designed to fit in within the commercial area in which it is located by providing a mix of materials, color palette, and design features. The main retail entrance will include a storefront. Self-storage buildings include windows on all 3 levels and on all 4 sides of the building. And then faux orange doors are provided on the back side of the building, but are not functioning storage. Those are just for aesthetic purposes only. The UDC does require a minimum of 50% masonry on the front and side facades. Architectural metal panels may be an acceptable substitute for masonry. Based on the overall building design and materials that have been provided, staff does believe that the architectural metal panels with a stucco emboss are acceptable at this location. Staff reviewed the preliminary development plan and the rezoning under the review criteria in the UDC and finds that the request meets all city standards and requirements in the UDC with no modifications being requested. Future land use map classifies the property as commercial. However, the light industrial and the proposed land use is not out of character for an interior commercial property on a collector street that connects to other light industrial uses to the southeast. The building and site is compatible in design and the use with adjacent commercial land uses and provides connectivity. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on April 4th at which a business owner of another storage facility in the community spoke in opposition to the request, citing concerns about the operations, traffic, and impact to the adjacent childcare use. Staff has not received any questions or concerns from any adjacent property owners on the proposal. The Commission did recommend a unanimous approval of the rezoning of the preliminary development plan, and if approved, a final development plan is required to be approved by Planning Commission prior to construction. Aaron Kruger with U-Haul is also here this evening if there are any questions about the operations.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
You go first.
How many trucks and trailers do you plan on renting out of there?
So the way the U-Haul operation works, as people move into the Belton community, they'll leave their truck or trailer on site. We shunt it and get it ready to go to the next customer. Sometimes there could be 20, sometimes there could be 5, but on average, probably between 15 and 20.
That's what you're anticipating.
Brett, go ahead. Or, I'm sorry.
Where would these be parked?
So there'll be shunting lanes in the front area, marked with the lines there.
On the front of the big building, the little building, or on the road?
The bigger building in the parking lot.
Okay. And, okay, is there any maintenance? When you say shunting, what does that mean?
That just means we position them, so we have A1, B1, C1, so when the customers come, they get their truck out of spot A1, B1, C1. We do all our repairs in Kansas City, Kansas. We have a shop there.
Okay, so they would be towed there if their engine has got a problem or something?
Yes, or if it's drivable, we drive them.
Okay. This is just a quirk, I think, in the write-up, but the staff write-up says there's an entrance off of Stone Ridge, but your drawings show entrance off of Outer Road. Do we know which it is? Or it looks like, in that drawing, it looks like Outer Road, but...
It's the actual name of that street is Stone Ridge.
So Stone Ridge goes all the way around now?
It's not actually called Outer Road.
Okay, okay. What is stored in self-storage and what is stored in interior storage, and what's the difference?
So interior storage is all gonna be climate controlled, so most people now prefer, if they're gonna store their belongings, they would prefer it in a climate controlled setting. It's always gonna be between 45 and 80 degrees, it'd be just like it was sitting in the living room of your house.
And then self-storage is then something where you can walk in, you're on your own, but it's not air conditioned or heated?
No, it's all the same product, it's all self-storage product.
So self-storage only means that, well, I still don't see the difference. If it's all heated and cooled, what's the difference?
So we just have the self-storage product, I guess I don't understand the question.
Well, in your write-up and in staff's write-up, it says there's self-storage and there's interior storage. So I don't know why there's a
So the interior storage,
differentiation
they're
there.
probably referencing the U-Box product.
And what's a U-Box?
So that is a product that you can have, we'll bring it to your house or your apartment. You can load the belongings in the box, and then we will store it in the second building until you're ready to have us bring it back, or we will also ship it if you're moving to like Dallas or across country.
Okay, so where are those? They're
They're in the single-story building.
and the trucks that take them back and forth are stored in there too?
No, those are staged out of Grandview.
Okay, so if I called up and said I wanted to store something in there in one of these shipping containers, let's call it, some truck from Grandview would come to my house, I'd load it up, then it would be taken to your facility, then the truck from Grandview would go back to Grandview? Okay. You've got hours, and yet, does that mean the site will be completely locked for no admittance outside the hours of your operation?
So we do offer after-hours operation. It's an additional fee. You have a swipe card or a code that will let you into the building. Each room's individually alarmed, so we always know who's coming and going from the property.
So it's actually a 24-hour operation, if you pay the extra fee?
The extra.
Okay.
Only about 15% of our customers utilize that.
Oh, okay, so most of your customers come during the hours that are on your thing. Okay, and then finally, let's say a family finishes with your equipment and they want to turn it in at 7:30 p.m. To avoid the charge for the next day. What do they do?
So they've given directions on where to park the vehicle, and then we have an app where they check themselves in. It'll give themselves a total. They take a couple pictures, finish up their rental, and then we shunt it the next morning for the next customer.
Okay, and so, again, are these parking space, like if I drove in from Arkansas and I wanted to park a 16-foot or 20-foot van, or truck, are the parking spaces delineated, or I just park out there in that big open space, or?
There'll be lines and lanes and arrows showing you where to direct you where to park.
Okay. And I guess finally, do you have any comments about the thing that was just brought up, which I think is a good point, about the daycare center across the street?
So Alex with our engineering firm, he's on the Zoom part. It was my understanding he planned the entries and exits in regards to staying away from the drives of the daycare facility. But he may be able to speak better on that than myself.
Right in front of it.
He's on a Zoom? Okay. Okay, that's what I have.
Any more, Rob?
That's it, thanks.
Go ahead, Dick.
I guess my question was going to this is, seems like everything's facing the other direction, and did we not look at that other direction so the entrance wouldn't be by the daycare center?
They specifically laid out the site this way because that's the main, Cornerstone is the main access drive there. Also, the way that the buildings are oriented, from an aesthetic standpoint, from the highway is a better view.
I actually think when you're coming from the highway, though, the first street's going to be the access point, the right in, right out. And then, I mean, I get there's a stoplight there where this is at, but I mean, unless you're coming from my direction, I don't think you're going to use that stoplight at all. There's a right in, right out right there by Cracker Barrel. and going into Casey's. That's if you're talking about coming from the highway. I mean, that's gonna be the first access point going into that subdivision's right there, it's not the stoplight. I'm just trying to figure out if that's a safety issue, that if we had these buildings reversed, would that be better for the overall site plan? I don't know if that was brought up during the Planning and Zoning Commission at all or not, but
Yeah, the
I don't believe that was,
Planning
no.
Commission did not have any concerns regarding the access on that street. I will point out there's other industrial uses that, an industrial park just to the south that utilizes that, and we've not had any concerns about
yeah,
traffic
I
coming
mean,
through.
it's a very low concern of mine.
Yeah,
To me, I'm looking at this and I think the highway is the frontage, and I think the face of these buildings should be facing the highway, in my opinion, but that's me. But, I don't think kids are gonna, I mean, kids aren't running the streets over there. I drive through there all the time, so I'm not worried about kids getting hit specifically because of U-Haul places there. I was just trying to think if we reverse those, would it look better for, as people are coming down 49 compared to seeing the back of a building? And I'm assuming because that's facing the street, that back of the building has to be 50%, you say brick?
so so the view from the back, I mean, they did four-sided architecture, so the materials on the back side of that building that face I-49 are of the same quality and design as the
I
front.
mean, the whole thing is surrounded by roads, so I think the whole thing has to be of the same material, but.
Yeah.
No, I just, making sure the back looks like the front.
Anybody else?
You do have United Rental that's been there for years, and this will be facing sort of United Rental, which is kind of comparable to in businesses, I think. So I don't think there's ever been a problem with United Rental and children there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I used to go to a gym back there in the industrial park, and I never saw anybody entering the industrial park on the right side of the street, right-hand side, and then walk their kids across. They would loop through their lot, like, I don't share that same concern that kids being loaded and unloaded for the daycare will be at any risk, because they have a parking lot, they could loop. If anything, parents might loop through the U-Haul lot to come back the other direction and unload in front of the school. That's the most logical traffic flow.
Anybody else? Brett, go ahead.
I have a concern about the daycare there as well. And I do know parents pull right up in front and let their kids out and they walk up the sidewalk.
Mike.
I do know parents pull up in front on the main street, let their kids out, and then they walk across. They walk from their car. Sometimes they have to get out and walk in the street around, but because of the side of the car that they're letting their kids out on. So I have a little concern about that. It's not the most pressing thing that I have, but
Well, and also you said that all entrances didn't match up with the daycare center driveway, but it does. One of them does. If you go back to the other picture, other bird's eye view, it's right across this. I mean, I don't see. I guess you could get a little closer than that, but that one there on the left of the drawing definitely is right across the street.
And I will say from a traffic standpoint, that's more ideal. That's actually a safer situation than having a significant offset, because you don't want cars turning left out of U-Haul and then right out of the daycare and they potentially colliding.
Any other discussion? Go ahead. Oh, go. You got to say something.
Hi, yes, I have a question, sorry.
Go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead.
I actually have two questions. Question one, would it be possible for him to take a look at the aerial views that Stacy had brought and just let us know, are these comparable? Is this what it might look like for his facility, or if not, explain the difference there?
So the buildings that she brought pictures of, I'm familiar with. We built those in the early 80s. So we offer a lot different product and service now than we did back then.
Thank you. And then my other question is probably to Matt. I know I did see in the proposal that it did say, you know, that storage is something that is needed. Are we open to the idea of allowing other storage unit places within the city? I do know that Stacy has been requesting that for a few years. I didn't know if that was still something
That's not
that was
pertinent to
considered.
this. So keep your questions to this proposed motion.
I have one more, last.
Go ahead.
Did the daycare, Creative World, did they have any input whatsoever? I mean, were they notified,
Yeah, there was a public hearing sign posted on the site right across the street from the daycare, and then they also received notification via certified mail.
and nothing from them?
We did not receive anything. I don't know
I
if
did not
the
receive
U-Haul
anything.
team received anything either.
Okay.
Stop, you can't. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, move for a second reading.
We have a motion for a second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a second reading. Any discussion on the motion for a second reading?
Just curious.
Can
why.
I ask the reasoning behind the second reading?
Timing?
We don't have another, our next meeting is May 9th, and we're planning to keep that clear of business activity as much as we possibly can since we're going to be doing a joint meeting with Parks on that date. And so the next business meeting essentially is going to be May 30th. And so they're waiting on us to move this forward. And if we're going to approve it, then we'd like to move it as quickly as we possibly can to help them.
Did you hear that, Angela?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on the motion for a second reading? Go ahead.
The only reason I would approve a second meeting is, there was a public hearing, with the planning and zoning. One person has spoke of it. The residents or the business owners around there did not come and speak against the project. So, I mean, we did have a public hearing for people to come up and voice their opinions with planning and zoning. So that's why I feel like should go ahead and do it.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion approving the second reading of Bill 2023-24.
An ordinance approving a rezoning from C2 General Commercial to M1 Light Industrial for a 5.81 plus or minus acre parcel located at the southwest corner of Cornerstone Drive and Stone Ridge Drive, and approval of a preliminary development plan for a U-Haul moving and storage facility on the subject property.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead.
What is the plans to maintain the aesthetics? Because you said earlier, those were, the other ones in other cities were built in the 80s, and so what's to assure that these are going to stay the same?
So we have building maintenance crews that work for U-Haul, and then we also have vendors. So anytime we need maintenance done, we call them out and they get it done for us. We want to make sure we're appealing to the community as well.
I would also note for the council from a legal perspective, as was discussed at the last meeting, when these site plans and preliminary development plans are approved by ordinance, they do act as an additional zoning regulation on the property. So the landscaping improvements that are shown are also an additional zoning requirement, and any violation or total removal of that landscaping or something along those lines would require a zoning ordinance violation letter, which could lead to fine in municipal court.
Go ahead.
My only question to you, I forgot to ask this earlier, are you a franchisee or is this a corporate store?
No, this will be a corporate store.
Corporate store, okay.
So
Go
if
ahead.
a tree, if
Go
a
ahead.
tree died, then they would be required to replace it.
Yes.
Anybody else? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
Pryan,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Aye. Motion carries. She's done. Consent agenda, one motion non-available to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Mr. Mayor, I think we've skipped a
Yeah.
whole back
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Oh. If we got the
You
second
don't have the
page.
back of the
Got
page?
B, C, D.
Doesn't look like he has it.
Read mine.
Sorry about that.
I'm hungry too, but.
B, motion approving resolution R 23-40.
A resolution approving a contract with NYP CPA LLC for the design and implementation of finance and accounting processes in accordance with best practices for municipal government organizations and the completion of tasks to ensure financial success for the city moving forward.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Casey, you have something to share with us on this?
I'll be glad to take this. Yeah, this is a contract with someone who's experienced in municipal finance. Over the past 8 months, we have been working to understand the depths of any missed issues or missed reporting or incorrect reporting or incorrect bookkeeping that may or may have not have taken place over, before we got here. And some of it was just a function of us not having a finance staff for a period of time as well. And so while we've been able to try to keep up with things moving forward, catching up and making sure that everything was done correctly in the past has been a real challenge. And so we're asking for this to allow us to employ this individual to help us get caught up and ensure that we have best practices in the industry implemented in our finance department.
Just asking questions now.
Go ahead.
I guess my question is, how long do you think we're gonna have? Is this somebody that's gonna be on site full-time and?
They'd be on site, and it's an hourly wage, and this is a cap of $50,000. At $125 an hour is what they charge, and so we would be utilizing that until we're essentially caught up. And if we somehow get to the end of that and hit our cap, then we would come back to you and give you a status report on what's been done and what needs to be done still, if that's necessary.
Okay.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. C, motion approving resolution R 23-41.
A resolution approving the purchase of a Massey Ferguson MF 4710 tractor with batwing mower from Teague Tractor LLC in the not-to-exceed amount of $90,558.
Present.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
In Public Works' effort to continue to mow and actually mow more, including sections along the interstate and portions of MoDOT's right-of-way, we need an additional mower to help get the work done. And this would actually be a batwing mower. You've probably seen the current mower we have has the arm that stretches out, and it's kind of doesn't leave a very good finish to some of it. This is a mower that will do a better job and allow us to get bigger areas done faster. It would work along with the slope mower, which a lot of you guys saw at our open house, and so they'd be working together to get a lot more mowing and make the city look better.
So the guy driving the tractor, can he control the other one while he's
No,
driving?
it was
Just
two
kidding,
separate
just kidding.
people.
Any
No pictures?
questions?
There's a picture on here. I was trying to figure out, it has a scoop on it. I mean, is that,
It can't, it's a tractor, so you can do that. This would just have a batwing mower to it. It's the mower off to the side.
okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I certainly want you to get your tractor, but it says here that this is in the FY 2024 budget. But I did a word search on the budget, I only found 2 references to tractors. One was a tractor repair and one was extractor basin. I don't know what that is, but I didn't see this in the budget. Is it in the budget?
It was, there's a mower in the budget. Yeah,
So maybe it's under mower and not tractor?
could be.
Okay. Again, I want you to get the tractor, but I'm confused. I mean, and maybe it has to do with getting NYP or here or whoever in here to help with the financing and the budgeting. But
Was
Go.
this budgeted for FY '23?
24.
But was it in '23?
No.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
What's that last page of my budget about? Buy board current vendors?
So we use, we went in comparison between Case
I don't see
and John Deere mowers. And then we try to use the buying power of having the consolidated groups. They have a greater buying power than we do. And so that's what we do a lot of times when we buy, just like we buy off a MoDOT contract or Kansas City
Right.
contract. This is another one of those
I
buying
just
contracts.
didn't see anything in about a tractor in here, so I'm just trying to figure out.
well, and under tractor repair, there's also mower repair, and there's also a 0-turn mower, but there's no. Maybe I should be looking for bat. Maybe that's what I should look for. But I'm not seeing it in the budget. Maybe it's just that I don't know.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. D, a motion approving the resolution of R 23-42.
A resolution approving the purchase of 2 new public works vehicles and accessories in the amount of $80,626 from Don Brown Chevrolet.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have the same comment. I see 4 trucks, maybe that's too generic of a term, 2 in the wastewater division and 2 in the water division to be bought, but I don't see anything in engineering and transportation in the budget. If you want to look, I got it online. Well, I got the one that we got on March 13th or something, but. I guess what I would do is I make a motion that we amend this resolution to say, instead of to transportation and engineering, to wastewater and water, if that's where they're going. Or maybe, we obviously can't amend the budget now, but,
Yeah, you can.
oh, we can? Okay. Well, I guess the question is, where are they going to be? At transportation and engineering, or are they going to be in wastewater and water, or water? I mean, there's 2 in wastewater and 2 in water.
I believe there's separate line items in each, and they maybe put half in one and half in the other.
Okay, so maybe one truck's going to wastewater now and one's going to water.
Then they combine them when they purchase them.
Then if that's the case, then all we need to do is, in the resolution there, in the verbiage, instead of saying engineering and transportation, say wastewater and water. I would move that we make that change.
What budget are you looking at?
The one that Joe passed out
Okay.
a few weeks before April 1st.
We don't have our current budget online.
No, I couldn't find that either. It kind of disappeared, but.
So what motion are you wanting to make?
Well, I'm assuming that these are going to go to water and wastewater, since that's what's in the budget. So then I would move that under the bold type, where it says accessories for engineering division and accessories for transportation division, that be changed to water division and wastewater division, since they're paying for it. Unless I'm missing something in the budget. Maybe it's under, I don't know. I don't want to make a joke about this, but it's.
Do you want me to look at the budget that's in front of you?
Yeah. You can, again, I'm only I'm only searching for the word truck. Maybe I should have been looking for pickup or something, I don't know. But there's the.
Vehicle.
There's the, whoops. Wait a second. Get that. There we go.
While they're looking, I have a question. Go ahead. What kind of accessories are we getting?
He's not hearing you.
Yeah.
Problem is, you don't have these big books, you try to.
This is a truck. There's the.
Well, this is animal control.
Which
Maybe
one are
the-
you talking? The police cars or the what?
Oh, no,
What-
he's talking about just general pickup trucks, I think. That's what it says in the resolution. There's no attachments, I don't think.
Okay.
I mean, I can show you what I was looking for, or what I was looking at.
80 grand, they can't be too fancy.
Well, yeah, let's take TRUCK. Okay, it's not a hook lift truck. So here's the two trucks. These are under wastewater.
Go back up.
Yeah.
Or go back down where you were just.
Hey, let me make a recommendation if we don't mind. Let's go ahead and just do that. Let's just, we'll charge them to those two departments.
Hold on, go back up.
And then we'll come back and we'll make sure that
There's wastewater.
you guys are looking at the exact thing we're supposed to be looking at.
Is the.
And if we have to adjust on the back end, we can.
Right. And there they are. There's two for wastewater, and then if you
Right.
keep going down to water, there's two underwater. So they're in the, I mean, we've put them aside the money, but I want to make sure that I understand where the money's coming from. Because if it's coming from water users, then they should be getting the benefit of the truck.
Yeah, 662.
There's the other two.
Yeah.
So two are underwater, two are under wastewater.
Yep.
And,
And then what other?
well,
What are they talking about?
the-
PD?
I'm
Are
sorry,
you looking
what?
under capital outlay?
Yeah. I
Okay.
found them.
They're in there. It's just, on here you got Public Works, and he's wanting to make them say water and wastewater, which wastewater and water fall under Public Works anyways, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, there's renters in town that pay water bills, and they don't pay. And if they shop out of town, they don't pay sales tax, and they don't pay property tax directly. And so, to me, I mean, this is maybe I'm being a stick in the mud, but to me, if you're paying a water bill and it says, the budget says the water bill is going towards trucks, then that's the money from the truck, from the water bill shouldn't be going to pay for a truck for the engineer to drive around or the transportation supervisor to drive around. That's the way I see it. And
I mean, I see what you're saying, but to me, that is splitting hairs, because it's all Public Works. They're just broken down into different.
Correct. And water projects and wastewater projects utilize our engineers and they utilize our transportation department and.
Yeah, but it's
and
all under the Public Works Department.
Correct.
If you want to make a motion,
well, I made a motion.
repeat it so we understand where we're at.
I think the easiest thing is to make a motion. I move that in the resolution description that the two trucks, instead of saying transportation and engineering, they say for wastewater and water.
I need some
says
clarification
Public
because
Works.
the title reads Public Works, but the two whereas statements are where I think you're looking.
Yeah, right. Whereas, the whereas statements. I'm not changing the resolution, just the
Okay.
whereas statement.
So there's a motion on the floor if I have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion to amend the motion on the floor?
I just had a quick question, what the accessories were.
Nothing cool like a bat wing?
No, it's just, they're like flashers and things like that.
Okay.
Just to jump in from the legal perspective, the whereas clauses in a resolution or ordinance, unless incorporated into the body of the resolution after it says now therefore, are of no legal effect and do nothing.
So it won't hurt to change it.
So if we change the whereas clauses, just so we're clear, there's no legal change to the resolution itself.
I don't know, I just think it's semantics. I mean, Public Works is streets, water, sewer, engineering, it's all the same to me, so.
No, that's not the point. The point is, where's the money coming from? Trace the money. And the money in our budget, assuming our budget is correct, and I know we've had a lot of problems getting the budget together and time-wise and everything else, and I think Joe did an outstanding job to pull it out. But the point is, it says it's coming from the water fund. So people paying their water bills are paying for this truck. And it's not going to the water department, it's going to transportation, but maybe I don't understand. I mean, maybe there's just a big truck pool and all the trucks go all over the place, and so it's, I mean.
Well, the side of the trucks
I
say
mean,
Public
there
Works.
is, if you've been out there, there is
Yeah.
just a big old truck pool.
Okay.
And
then
on the side of them, they all say Public Works because it incorporates all of it.
it don't say engineering, or it don't say water, or it don't say
Sewer.
water.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I
my
think
motion's
I
out
think-
there. I understand a little bit more, but, okay.
And then I guess also from a legal perspective, so that if the motion passes, staff can understand what's going on. So if the motion passes as amended, the legislative intent of the motion would be that the engineer could only drive the truck when they're going to fix water issues. But if they were going to go to fix a street issue, they would have to take another truck. So just so we know what the intent of what the staff is going to be tasked with if the motion passes.
My motion?
yes.
And my motion is to change it and make it water and wastewater, so water and wastewater can use it 24/7. That's what my motion says.
But if the engineer is going to work on a water project, can they not take the truck? If that's the only truck left,
I assume if it's a wastewater truck, it's at the wastewater treatment plant. And if that's the case, if the engineer wants to get a ride out there just to take it, that's fine with me, but that doesn't make sense. I mean, there's two ways of doing it. One is to make it water, wastewater in this, or to make it transportation and engineering in the budget. The budget's already been passed, so you said we could change the budget. Maybe I should do that at a later time. Figure out how to do that, so.
All right, any more discussion on the motion to amend? The amendment or the motion on the floor?
Well, I would just like to say, what I'm hearing two things. We're talking where the money is and how it's described. You're looking for where the money is that Rob? Okay, that's what I thought I heard. So,
Yeah.
Have you found where the money is on that in the budget?
Yes, in the budget, it says that the water fund, when you pay your water bill, part of it's going to pay for one of these trucks.
Good.
Well, can I add on to that?
Yeah.
32% of that goes to Public Works, so it's the same thing, isn't it? Because we pay overhead allocation and Public Works billing out of that water bill. Isn't that the same money?
Then why didn't they call it in this resolution a water truck? Why did they call it a
Because it's Public
transportation?
Works is a general term.
Well, but then they didn't have to say anything. They said engineering division and transportation division. That's not water.
from a legal perspective, they didn't have to say anything.
Right, okay.
We could pass resolutions with 0 whereas clauses.
I'm
The-
gonna get them the trucks, and I'm just gonna,
The-
I'm
the
gonna
where-
hold my ears when it says those
Just
whereases.
From a legally operative perspective, whereas clauses don't do anything unless
Okay.
they're incorporated into the resolution.
Okay, so forget them, okay.
So, Any more debate on the motion to amend the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all in favor? Anybody against?
Yes.
Yes. Motion fails. Motion on the floor is R 2023-42. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. E, motion approving resolution R 2023-43.
A resolution approving task agreement 2023-1 with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company, Inc. to develop a procedure and install specification for wastewater treatment plant secondary clarifier in the not-to-exceed amount of $49,174.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Anything to add to that?
Is this in the budget?
Yes, this is in the budget to do work at the wastewater treatment plant. One of the main things we're working on is to develop an actual standard and purchase the replacement parts for our secondary clarifiers. The clarifiers actually were constructed with one set of equipment. When we put this out to bid to actually replace them, there are multiple types of equipment you can put in there. The idea is to actually design and engineer what we want to place back into the clarifiers. The other objective we're going to have is to, it's basically like a big concrete bowl, and we want to make sure that there's no voids underneath it. This is something that happens as water goes down the sides and leaches underneath it. We need to make sure there's no voids in, because if there are, as it fills it back up with water, it'll actually cause it to shift and cause the clarifier not to work. So we're going to make sure we engineer every single portion of this reconstruction of the clarifier to make sure it's done correctly.
Any questions?
Is the equipment that's in the clarifier now, is it working properly?
No, it doesn't work at all.
So are we busting permits or anything, or?
No, we have 3 clarifiers, and we're running 2 of them right now. One of them is off, and so this is to get that one fixed and back online, and then we'll go to move on to the next one and eventually repair all 3.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. F, motion approving resolution R 2023-44.
A resolution approving the installation of speed humps in Bradford Place subdivision on Given Avenue and Bradford Lane.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any,
Waiting for it to come over there.
any discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
When I started this, I'm going to do it this way. When I started this effort,
Mike.
I'm on it.
You keep turning though, you turn away
Well, I'm
from
trying to look at you guys.
Well, talk into this other one then. Or we're gonna get you a lapel mic. if you don't-
Please, I would like that.
And kick back in his chair.
All right. So when I started this, it was at the request of several Bradford Place residents, mainly the individuals on what we now infamously call the L, the Bradford and Given. Traffic study was done, and some people agree with it, don't agree with it. The traffic study proves our point. On a Given, there's approximately 1,000 cars go through there on a daily basis. And the traffic study shows that 90% are appropriate. But there's 10% that isn't. And when you have 1,000 cars, roughly, that means there's 100 cars that go through there that aren't. And so when I started hearing that stuff, the issue of safety became more important to me. Now, there's going to be a bar and grill almost built in front of the entrance to Bradford Place on Given, the most of the streets that's driven. And so now we're going to increase, most people will probably go Y Highway. But there's going to be people coming through there that don't want to go Y Highway, that may be trying to figure out how to way not to get caught. And that increases safety issues. I have, today a mailbox was ran over on Given. And so I am, it's become very important to me, not from what the original reason that I started this. It's because to me, it's a safety issue, and we're here to provide help with safety. And there's not enough police presence to perform the safety. And we have to do other things to help with safety issues. Speed humps will help with some safety issues. It's not going to solve the problem. Now, I'm trying to get, because my computer, I do want to make a motion that we remove the statement that says cost of removal will be paid by the property owners that requested the installation. Because this is a safety issue for the community. This is not just a few people that want this, that's asking for it. This is safety for kids and safety for Bradford. And the way this reads, I'm the one that requested it. Because it says my name up here. And so that means I would be responsible for it.
I second.
Then you can pay it. So we have a motion and a second. Do you want to amend this motion or make another motion?
City Attorney, tell me what I need to do.
I believe he is attempting to amend, and again, this is in the whereas clause, so it's non-legally operative. So even if you passed it with it in there, it is of no legal effect. So you can still amend it, but the amendment doesn't change anything from a legal perspective. But yes, you could amend the whereas clause.
All right, so what do I need to do so that way it's legal?
So are you attempting to make it so that the future property owners don't need to pay for the expense of removing it?
That's correct.
So you can't. So that would be the decision of a council if the council ends up removing it, is how that's funded. You can't bind
So
future.
can it be taken out of here, and then if the council at that time decides, then...
But, okay, so even if it's in here, it's in a whereas clause. Whereas clauses are no legal effect. So even with it in here, as it's written, that would not do anything. It would be up for the future council, if the property owners want it removed, to figure out how to fund that.
Okay, so it's not this does not require
No, it is.
me to pay for it, since I am the one that...
It is, again, it is in a whereas clause, so that we leave tonight and everybody knows it, and everybody watching at home. Whereas clauses are no legal effect. Anything above the now therefore doesn't do anything. Everything post now therefore is what does something.
Then I can forget my...
You withdraw it.
Withdraw it, I guess.
Withdraw your motion to amend.
Right.
So we're back
But
to we're back to the regular motion on the floor.
But the safety issue to me is what's driving me now, not just because people want it.
Go ahead.
So I've been up in the air on this, and my biggest concern is, once we pass this, are we going to have 50 more speed humps we're going to have to put in? And at $10,000 each, that's $500,000. That's my biggest concern, is once we do one, now how many are we going to have to do? So I've also done a little research on these speed humps, and I've been out to, Mission, Kansas has a bunch of them everywhere. So I did find out why they put them in there is because they don't have sidewalks where they put these in at. So it helps reduce the speed of people walking down the street. And I know we have a big problem with that, with people wanting sidewalks, to maybe possibly putting speed humps down there. And maybe that's a cheaper option than putting sidewalks in. So I'm kind of for that too, that it might actually prevent another problem down the road. So I know that you're at your 10% of people that go through there that the issue is with. I live right here on Main Street. I've seen people go the wrong way down Main Street multiple times a day. I've seen people go straight down Main Street and go straight across Y without ever stopping because there's no stop sign there. I don't know how you fix that. There's signs that say one way. There's speed limit signs that tell people not to go in that neighborhood at past 25 mile an hour, but they do. So I'm up in the air on it. I think in the long run it could help some other situations around town to reduce speed. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Go ahead.
Well, my biggest problem with it is we're getting ready to maybe pass an ordinance on future speed hump policies, and currently this neighborhood doesn't fit in that policy. So we're going to try to pass a policy or give them speed humps, but it doesn't actually fit because when I look at the traffic studies, it says it has to be on average 7 miles an hour faster than what the posted speed limit is. And the test, every one of the tests we did out there, according to our studies, the fastest speed was 27 miles an hour on average. Most of the time, they were 24 miles an hour, 25. So we're not even close to that. So either get rid of the policy in here that we're getting ready to do, because if we're not going to follow a policy, why have a policy?
Well, we don't have a policy. That's why we're trying to create one after this.
Let's do the policy first then.
There's a correction. You say the average has to be over 25 or whatever.
No, it has to be 7 miles over the posted speed limit is what our policy says.
70 miles an hour is
at the 85% level. That means 15% of this traffic is over 7 miles per hour greater. Doesn't mean that the
Well,
average.
they say the average speed, 85% of the average speed is 24 miles an hour on 8/8 to 8/15. On the other study that they did on 3/24 to 3/31 of 2022, the average speed was 27. I mean, so we're still not at 85 percentile. So
Oh, no. It means there's a bell curve, and you go over here at 85%, and the 15% over here are at least 7 miles per hour over. When you say the average, that doesn't mean anything to the 85%. I don't know who did the study. I don't know who wrote this thing. I have a lot of comments about that thing, but right now we're talking about Brett's thing.
Well, I think we would doubt these in reverse order if you want to know the opinion. I think we had to set the policy and make sure the speed humps that they want over there actually fit the policy that we have written.
I think
Go ahead.
This came before the policy was even discussed.
Yeah.
So this is first.
Well, then it's an absolute no then.
Go ahead.
yeah,
For your vote.
Hold on.
the reason that we have the policy after this proposal is because there was no adopted policy by the council prior to this proposal taking place. Now, we had an internal policy that had been created through, what other cities do and generally accepted best practices, but it wasn't a formally accepted policy or a formally committed policy by the council. So I don't know that it would be 100% fair to hold them to a standard that we haven't yet adopted, retroactively, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so that's why we have these two in this order specifically.
Would it necessarily be retroactive if we pushed off the request, formalized a policy that everyone is comfortable with, or at least passes a vote, and then come back to this particular instance?
I mean, it's up to your opinion. I think, yeah, in a way, still it would kind of be retroactive. I mean, they've been trying to jump through the hoops that we created. The main hoop that they struggled with was the percentage of people, and they had some legitimate reasons why they couldn't do that. Specifically, the number of absentee landlords was a big reason why, and so that was why the intention. That's why we've changed that policy and we're trying to formalize it in the next resolution, if that makes sense. So, I mean, I think that's in the eye of the beholder, but I think in some ways, yes, it would still again be retroactively trying to get them to fit into a policy that we didn't have before.
Yeah, and I think we've been telling them all along for the last year and a half, do this, and this, and now they've done this, and this, and that's what's in item F. So I would think that it would be unfair for us to.
Well, I mean, we originally said 80% of the homeowners have to sign a document, and we haven't got there. So there's another one of those that we told them this, and they haven't got there. So now we're changing the rules to circumvent and allow them to do this. And now we're gonna pass an ordinance or a policy that doesn't even fit what they're trying to do. So forget about the policy if we're not gonna follow it. That's what all I'm telling you to say.
Well, there's no policy at all, and that's the whole point, and that's the, I mean.
Well, that's what I'm trying
no
to tell you.
formal policy.
But as soon as we pass this, what they're wanting to do doesn't fit the policy that you have written down here is what I'm trying to tell you.
Understood.
When residents come in and they have severe safety issues, I don't care about policies or not. If I think that they have a valid point, then I'm going to vote for something that goes towards protecting them.
Well, I mean, we got Allen, we got VC. I can sit here and name you streets that have tried to get these over the years, and we've told them no because, one, snow plows. So that was a valid point that the last administration brought up when people wanted speed humps. And now all of a sudden, all I'm trying to say is, if we're going to put a policy in place, make sure it fits the policy.
Well, and that policy, the policy as written in the next thing would not even apply to Vitzi and wherever because they don't have curbs. So
And they don't have sidewalks either. Well,
there you go. And actually, if they didn't have sidewalks, I would be more scared because people are going to drive around them with no curbs and drive on the grass, and that's where people are going to be walking if there's no sidewalks.
I agree with you. If they don't have sidewalks, I think they should have speed humps more than people that have sidewalks.
I go for it. Let's. I can't wait to get to that one.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, one of the very first things when I got voted onto council, my neighbors came to me about was wanting speed bumps on Mill Street. So I came and talked to staff and found out why speed bumps are a bad solution. You know, I am aware of the complicating factors that commercial traffic through that area is a problem. But when we do a traffic study, and then you can take it or leave it, or, you know, the folks that came and spoke with it took it or leave it based on their interpretation, that doesn't really help me make a decision. Additionally, the outlier, the most dangerous traffic through that area was someone that lived in the neighborhood, the motorcycle, right? I mean,
Well,
I'm just saying, hold on, please. What I would like, and I know we're probably past that point, is to have had a policy that we all thought was reasonable and addressed the issues fairly, and then came back. But now we are making these exceptions and kind of trying to shoehorn this in before we have a policy, and that just makes me uncomfortable. So, you know, in hindsight, it would have been nice if we could have asked the questions first, made the policy, and then addressed the application.
That's what I was asking. I mean, that's what I think. I think we had to set a policy and then say, does it fit the policy? Exactly what you said, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were told 80% was like a reasonable threshold in the industry, and now we're like, okay, you know, we can take less because it's complicated. Fine. Is that the Belton policy? We should have set that at that point.
I mean, I got residents over there saying because a city council member wants this thing, that it automatically is going to be a slam dunk. And I said, no, it's not. I mean, just because he's on city council, it doesn't mean he gets what he wants. And that's the problem, that it's the parents that it's coming across, that he's the one presenting it. It isn't anybody else coming up here presenting it.
We had a bunch of people here last
3.
week, so it isn't just me representing it.
Hold on.
So I got the email from Lisa, I'm not sure what her last name is.
Ashbaugh.
And there's 5 pictures that she sent. 4 semi-trucks, 1's a tow truck. The trucks that they're complaining about in the deal was the post office are getting trucks. And so I'm like, does anyone call the post office and say, hey, can you at least try to make them go the other way? Yep. So I called the assistant to the post office today on my way home. And I said, are you the top guy? He goes, I'm second in charge. Postmaster's 1, I'm 2. I said, have you had any complaints in the last 2, in any time? And he goes, the last complaint we've had is 2 years ago from another truck. And he goes, 2 years, we haven't had any complaints since then at all. And I'm like, if you can't at least make one call to the post office. I had a person complaining about using Jake brakes here on Main Street, or on Cedar. And I'm like, I'll make a call to the quarry down there, because that's most of the trucks that are coming up here. And I call them and I say, hey, I just want to see if you guys can at least tell your trucks not to use your Jake brakes in city limits. And he goes, you know what, I'll pass that on. He goes, that's a good idea. He goes, we try to tell them, but we'll tell them more. And we haven't heard as many Jake brakes since then. So a simple call can make a lot of difference by not having these semi trucks going through that area, and that was the 5 pictures were the 4 semis and the 1 tow truck. So I don't think enough of that has been done to even try to prevent the semi trucks from going through there.
Go ahead.
So if it passes as written, there is no enforcement that if the neighbors change their mind, the neighbors that moved to put this in would have to pay to remove it. Is that correct?
There's no enforcement, and the city wouldn't have to do so unless the council instructed the city to do so, the staff to do so.
And appropriated the funds
Right.
to, make that a reality.
Well, I'm just saying if.
Well, no,
Hold on. Go ahead.
I'm just saying if the signatures collected are responsible for the cost of removal down the line, that's not real. That's not enforceable. That's not, these people can move, you know what I mean?
So I believe that the way that it's written is if the speed hump ends up being removed and being requested to be removed, then it would be on the property owners within the area on the street to remove it. Is the typical process that you see.
But
Now,
only, oh, sorry.
and again, we've kind of, the council has jumped back and forth between 2 topics here. So the way that it's written in the resolution that is the motion in front of you, in the whereas clause, that is not legally enforceable because it is in the whereas clause. If we want to talk about resolution, the next one that has the policy in it, we can do that and we can talk about the enforcement mechanism there. But again, at the end of the day, if 67% of the people come out and say, hey, we want these removed, it is still a council decision to actually appropriate the funds to have them removed, or alternatively, that city council could say, using its legislative authority, no, we're not going to remove these. The people that used to live on your street literally requested them 2 years ago, and we spent $40,000. We're not going to spend $40,000 removing them now. So you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
So that, again, but we're jumping back and forth between multiple things because they would not be removed unless the city agreed to remove them.
To answer your question, I think, is just taking it out of the first resolution, number 44, that the property owners have to pay. If we pass the next resolution about the plan or the ordinance or whatever, then that would apply. But in other words, the people on Bradford don't get a free ride. Once we put the next policy in, then it would apply to them down the road, just like to every other neighborhood.
I like that in theory. I think it's messy and complicated if people move away, the property owners change, say, hey, registered at this
Well-
address, you signed yes, now
Well, then
you
let's
are on the
debate.
hook.
Let's debate it at when we debate.
Yeah, I
45.
I have additional comments on how that's being read, Councilmember Lawson, that we can discuss on 45. But I would note that I think the sentence that your question is a petition signed by 67% of the property owners in the originally defined petition area, and all properties directly affected is required. Property owners who do not respond are marked as a no. So that is just saying who's there now when they're getting the petition to remove them.
Okay, thank you. That helps.
Can we not reverse this? Force him to pay to put them in, and then we will take them out if they don't want them?
If you guys wanted to, again, the purse strings are up there.
Well, I just don't want to sit there and spend $10,000 per thing, and then they get to take them out 6 months later because they don't want them, and it only costs them $2,000. I think if they want them, they should fund the $10,000 and put them in.
So nobody can do work within the city's right of way without the city's request. So no, if a property owner can't just go out there with a jackhammer and jackhammer them up, that's your right of way, right? At the end of the day, the street is kind of one of the main things you guys control, subject to the Missouri legislature continuing
Public
to
Works
erode
has
that.
to take them out. Yeah.
But it would still need to be something that would occur by Public Works, that would need to be budgeted, and all those sorts of things. Those purse strings that you all control would still be implicated.
Well, we don't have these in the budget anyhow, so. Right?
Go ahead.
Anyone?
Anyone?
We'd have to
Somebody
find
work
the
on that. Go ahead,
$10,000 in the budget, yes.
The only comment I have on this resolution is 2 things that I don't see is how many and where they're to be placed. So I don't know if that should be stated.
Well, it says it's gonna be on Given and Bradford.
Yeah, there's two.
2 of them. One on Gibbon, one on Bradford.
And the total cost says $10,000. All we're voting on here is 2 slabs of asphalt in that neighborhood.
Go ahead, Brett.
When this started, the citizens didn't have the desire for speed humps. They didn't come in asking for speed humps. They came in and asked for help. What is solutions? The speed hump decision was made at because of the Public Works Director recommended it. If he had come up with other potential, I even brought, what about reducing the lane to 1 lane? Instead of having 2, reduce it to 1, so that way it has to slow people down. I brought that up. So there's been, the issue for speed humps was not the citizens. That came from the city as a recommendation, as a way to help those people.
It might have been a thought.
No, it was a presentation and a recommendation. Now,
I'm going to ask Greg straight out. You've always not recommended speed humps that I've ever heard. I mean, you might have talked about what they are and how they operate, but
So when we had the discussion about traffic calming in the neighborhood, there were a lot of different ideas brought forth that were not possible. And so it was asked to me, what are the possible traffic calming options that there are? And speed humps was the only option that's really available to this neighborhood.
Yeah, I just go back to the studies that were done. There's 4 of them here, and I don't see one of them where the speed was over the posted speed limit.
Except one car, not the motorcycle, doing 70 miles an hour.
He doesn't live there anymore.
No, that's not the motorcycle. The motorcycle's a different thing. The car was 70 miles an hour. That was not the individual that rode the motorcycle.
All right. Any other discussion?
One more thing.
Go
ahead. I'm presenting this with passion, not because I want them. It's okay with me. I'm presenting it because of the safety issues, because of the kids that live on the corner, because of the people on the L. Every single house that is owned by someone who's not, whatever you called it, signed it, that live on the L. The people off the L are that are not particularly interested, but the people that are directly faced with the traffic coming through there every day, every single one that owns, that the owner lives there, signed it. And they're faced with it. And because of the safety, and the passion really comes even more once the bar and grill gets finished. That's, when I saw where it's at, and it's just right there in the front entrance, that pushed more emphasis to me. But
And in response to one resident, and I might have been wrong, but I think I'm right. When I moved in my house right on Y Highway, I knew Y Highway was a state highway, and I've counted them, 6,000 cars. I mean, not 1,000, 6,000 going by my house. And maybe there'll be a traffic study someday by MoDOT, I don't know. But the point is, the people that moved to Bradford Estates, there's been building after building after building on either side of them, and they are a very convenient cut through. And I challenge myself, I challenge any of us, do any of us have in our ward something similar that is an issue? I mean, a safety issue. It's going to get worse, just as Brett said. So they didn't move in knowing that those were there, because they weren't there.
I got just one
I
more.
would say there's issues like this all over the city. Maybe not as prevalent, but I would say there are. I mean, I know a couple of them off the top of my head. Go ahead.
So what about snowplows? Is that going to affect them at all?
They'll lift up their plows as they approach it, and then once they're across it, they'll put them back down.
So what?
Any other?
Yeah, sorry. So then what? Does that become a dangerous icy
Greg's going to
spot?
ride around in his truck and with a snow shovel and shovel them all.
They pick it up, they leave that stretch.
They will pick it up before they get to it, and they'll put it down on the backside. So any snow that's in front of their plow will be dropped. right there across the hump.
Further calming the traffic.
All right, any other? Angela, you're awful quiet.
I really enjoyed all the discussion and soaked it all in.
All right. All in favor of motion on resolution 23-44?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. G, motion approving resolution R 23-45.
A resolution approving a speed hump policy.
You can tell that wasn't written by a lawyer.
Make a motion.
Present.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Why have one if you're not gonna follow it?
I knew that was gonna be the first thing out of someone's mouth.
Well, rules change all the time, and some things are grandfathered in, so this creates it moving
So is
forward.
the first one already grandfathered in if
It-
we pass this,
this-
or is it not grandfathered in?
Well, it's already been approved, so we're not gonna go back and retroactively, like I said in the previous
So again, why
discussion.
have a policy if you're not gonna follow a policy?
Because that way we don't have 10 other, or 50 others coming saying,
I
hey,
mean,
we want speed
Joe,
bumps
I
right
know
now
you're
unless we have
new,
a
Joe,
policy.
but we've been doing this for 4 years around here where we set policies and we don't follow it. We don't follow our own stuff. So why set a policy if we're not gonna follow it? We just approved something that doesn't fit into the policy that you're trying to approve now.
Understood, it's trying to be,
So, I mean, why, it seems backwards.
sometimes you want to be responsive to the residents that come with concerns, and sometimes policies fit, sometimes they don't, I get that. You want to amend the policies that's in here.
So, why
to
are we
fit.
not gonna have it where it's not like Allen and VC who are thoroughfares and are doing 50 miles an hour through there, where we can't put a speed hump there because guess what? They don't have sidewalks. But we can put it in a neighborhood that don't get as much traffic as VC does.
It's not sidewalks, it's gutters and curbs.
Well, they don't have gutters
That's
and
my
curbs.
point too. Why does it say that we need a gutter and a curb to put in a speed hump? I mean, that's what it says here, under A.
If you allowed me, I'd like to just kind of go through this and
Yeah.
try to give an explanation
Great, I'm sorry.
of what's here before you tear it apart. So speed humps and traffic calming is nothing unique to the city of Belton. It's nothing unique to this area. It's actually something that's a national problem, an international problem of people who drive too fast, people who cut through, people who are doing things they shouldn't be doing in their vehicles. And so on a national scale, the Institute of Transportation Engineers worked endlessly on traffic calming and coming up with very specific ways to calm traffic, and speed humps is one of them. And so for every different type of traffic calming device, a policy was derived on how to do it. This is basically the policy that's a nationally accepted policy. Now, I did make a tweak on the percentages, like you've noted, but a lot of things in here are spelled out, and this is the accepted standard practice for installing speed humps. And so I'll just go through it real quick with you, and then we can have a discussion of what it is. And so the basic way you do it is a resident submits to the city engineer a request for a speed hump. And this is nothing complicated. This is just any email. We get emails all the time from people. And then we'll conduct a traffic study based on the following criteria. And there's basically 3 reasons in Belton why we'd put a speed hump in. The first one is to reduce speeds. You know, we heard a lot about that this evening, about how we would reduce the speed. And so the street must be classified as a local facility or residential collector. And so speed humps and traffic calming devices are not used on our more major roads. They're used on residential streets. And a residential collector is just basically that main street that goes in a subdivision, to differentiate it for you. With a curb where there's, and basically we're trying to say is 67% of the properties must be residential properties. So the idea is these are installed in residential neighborhoods. The posted speed limit must be no more than 30 miles per hour with the 85th percentile being at least 7 miles per hour over the speed limit. So if the speed limit is 25 miles an hour, the 85th needs to be about 32 or greater. If it's 30 miles an hour, the 85th needs to be 37 or higher. The speed limit should really never be set below 25 miles an hour on any street that the city has. And all other efforts to lower the speed limits have failed. That's basically doing enforcement, more signing, anything else we can see that we can reduce it. Now, one of the things that it does have in there is with curb and gutter, because what happens with speed humps is that if there's no curb and gutter, people will drive in people's front yards to drive around them. And
Not on Allen Street, there's ditches over there.
there are certain streets where that's not practical, where people don't do it, but you'd be surprised the lengths people will go to not drive across a speed hump. And so I've even had streets that we've closed with barricades, and it's a street without curb and gutter, and there's the big concrete, 3-foot tall barricade in front of you, and they will actually drive through the grass, through people's front yards to avoid them. And so the idea is to have a curb and gutter to keep people within the roadway. The second criteria is to reduce volume of cut-through traffic. And so when we have a situation where people are cutting through, once again, it must be a local street, a residential street, or a residential collector. We'd count the cars and make sure that there are a significant number of cars going down the street. Because if there aren't very many cars going there, you can't really say people are cutting through. I hope that makes pretty good sense. And so there's a national standard on a number of cars that needs to be on each street to show that there are people cutting through. And we also need to make sure that there's another way for them to get around. Like when we talked about Bradford and Given, there is another way around taking 58 and Route Y. And so that provides a way for the traffic to go. So you're not just preventing people from going. The third criteria is that the street we want to reduce truck traffic. And so a speed hump, some speed humps will help contribute to slowing down truck traffic. Other trucks will just go right across them. But the street, once again, must be a local or residential street. It has to have 4% of the traffic volume of the roadway section should be composed of trucks. And on a normal street, you'll see between 5 and 10% trucks. On residential streets, you'll see between 1 and 2% trucks. So when we do the traffic study, if it comes out 4% trucks, you know there's trucks that are coming through this neighborhood. We also want to have the street segment to be at least 2 blocks long, and it's basically, is there a reason why the trucks are going down that 1 block? There must be something that's attracting those trucks to go use it. So that you need to be considering that. And you also need to make sure that there's other roads for them to take, like we talked about, to bypass and not use that neighborhood. And those are the reasons why, the criteria for why you install a speed hump. We put in here in step 3, it must be signed by at least 67%, simply from the experience that we just went through. About normally it's 80%, but we just, and I figured that was going to be a discussion item this evening. If you want to have it 67%, 75%, 80%, to decide what that number of property owners are for that. We'd also determine what the area of influence is, and that's basically who's influenced from that speed hump. When you look at like Bradford Place, it's pretty easy to see that everyone who lives beyond it is influenced by that hump, so they need to be all in the same mind. And when you look at other subdivisions, you can tell who is using that entrance and who's not. And so those people who are affected by it are the ones who would be the ones required to have the signatures. Once the petition is verified, it's just making sure that they're legitimate signatures, we would submit to the City Council for approval. And the speed hump will be installed once approved by the City Council. We also put in there a process of removal. This is a pretty standard method of removing it, that the speed hump needs to be in place at least 1 year before we'd consider the removal. We'd have to have a petition for that, and that would have to be submitted to the city engineer. We'd basically use that same area that was considered in the installation, would be the same area to be considered for the removal, and you'd basically need to have the same number of people signing it, whatever that level that we want to determine this evening. Also, people who would mark it and say, I don't have an opinion, I don't care one way or another, would be considered a no. And so we would do that, once again, verify the survey, and then the cost, and this is just a policy that's been established by many cities, that once it comes back out, that the residents signing the petition would then be paying for its removal. The device would be removed from location, and then we would not put it back. Some cities will allow it to be placed back after 5 or 10 years. That's simply up to you. If you want to say it can come back, it come back of a certain period of time, or it can be, because you just don't want to put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
if I may, just to kind of give a perspective, the previous policy was a policy that was created in response to citizen concerns. This is what is just kind of an aggregate of all the studies and stuff out there and the engineering reports, and just trying to figure out, okay, what do other cities do? And so by all means, this can be a starting point. It doesn't have to be the final product. We have a lot of leeway as a council to say, well, I want to change this number. If we decide, well, we want to follow the exact same process that was followed in the previous motion that was approved, because that's fair, so be it. We can adjust these to where everybody else has to follow the same exact methodology that the previous one was approved by. That's allowed. The council is of course welcome to do so, and we actually welcome that input. I mean, when we create these things, sometimes we create them using, again, methodology, trying to figure out what other cities do, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily match what we need here in our community, so we need to make it match.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to 100% agree. You ought to change it to what happened just now. I mean, so if it's 25 miles an hour, then it shouldn't be 7 over on here.
Okay.
I mean, you're telling me that based on this thing, that 204 semis drove through there in 1 week because it says 4% out of 5,200 vehicles. I don't think it happened. So I guess my question is, do we need one of these items, or do you need all 10 of these items to get speed humps?
One of the three, I think.
No,
As
One of the
presented.
criteria?
as presented, and you normally just do one of the three, because there's a specific cause. Are you doing it for speeding? Are you doing it for truck traffic? Or are you doing it for cut-throughs? And that's, if you meet one of those, is how we would install.
I mean, their biggest complaint was truck traffic, but if you look up item 3, guess what? Given's not 2 blocks long. It's 1. There's 3 houses on it.
No,
Given starts at Y Highway. I don't know what.
there's more than 3 houses on it.
Not to that stop sign that you're worried about. I mean, you're talking about the L. 4.
6.
I mean, there's 81 houses in that whole subdivision.
6 houses.
But they also.
I think if you're gonna pass the speed humps you already done, you might as well go back and fit how that policy works into this, or just forget about it.
Yeah, if that's what the council wants us to do, we'll do that.
Rob, or
I would like to make a motion to amend it to the 75% and only if the funds are available.
Just quick clarification, is that 75% for the initial petition and the removal petition?
Yes.
Okay. So to restate, it would be a motion amending the speed hump policy to replace the 67% threshold of property owners in both the placement and removal petition with 75% of affected property owners.
Yeah. And if the funds aren't available, we're not gonna be putting them in, so,
we're gonna do it anyways. So.
yeah.
I agree with you, Chris. I was thinking higher than 67. I thought 75 would be about a
So
good
are
number.
you seconding his motion?
I'll second your motion.
So we have a motion and a second to amend the motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion to amend?
I have a question, and I don't know that there's actually an answer to it. With us saying, if the funds are available, who necessarily decides? I mean,
We
I
removed
guess
that.
that would just be up to
He removed that
council
part of it.
decide. Is that not the part that we were amending?
He removed it because if we had the funds or not, That's,
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha. We're good then.
we're always gonna have that question. So the motion is just changing the 67 to 75%.
Yes, because the determination of if the funds are available is the city council.
Yeah, yeah, we're doing that regardless. Go ahead, Rob.
Oh, okay. I saw all the, okay, the A has 67% of the frontage on the street must be in residential zoning. The 67% we're talking about is in number 3, petition signed by at least 67% of the property owners in the area of influence. Okay, so let's take Given as an example. Are the bank employees at Arvis Bank, are they part of the petition?
No, because bank employees don't own the bank. So it'd be the
It's
bank.
the president of the bank.
No, it'd be the bank.
It'd be the bank,
The-
okay.
the
So
bank
that-
is the
he's got
property
one
owner.
vote, or she, whoever owns that bank gets one vote.
Yes.
Okay. Because it talks about, well, let's see, property owners' area of influence. Oh, in the area of influence. So the area of influence could include a lot of commercial, like the post office and whatnot, but it'd just be one vote per each of those. Okay.
Go ahead, Brett.
When this came up, I was told that I didn't have to get the businesses. That because they're not in the subdivision.
Correct. So in that particular case, the area influence would not include any commercial businesses.
But they're driving right through there.
You can get to the businesses without going across the speed humps.
You can get to the post office, you can get to all that, you can get to Caliber without going in across the speed humps.
Okay.
This bank would not be part of that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Sorry if this is a dumb question, but say we install these, 10 years down the line, 67% of the folks that live there now say we don't want these anymore and they have to pay to remove them. Can you give me another instance of citizens footing the bill for a municipal change like that? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm very tired. This has worn me down.
I've actually never been involved where the residents had to pay to remove them because my past, the city always paid to remove them.
Okay.
But in general, citizens are required to clean up their mess if they've been cited. I mean, citizens do pay directly for city employees to do stuff.
But this is in the right of way. You know what I mean?
That could be in their backyard.
No, but I'm asking a
oh,
specific example
oh.
where it's like a shared, like the street, it's not their street, it's in their neighborhood,
see
but we're
what you're
going to
saying.
charge them to change something about their street because you understand what I'm asking, and
Yes,
you've answered
it really
it.
helps with the commitment level. You have to be very committed if you're going to say, I'm willing to remove it to put it in to start with.
The closest I've seen to something like this is if an organization comes to the city and asks for a donation to a cause or a sponsorship to a cause or something, and the city says, well, if you raise this much money, we'll match it, or that kind of a thing. I've seen that type of thing. I don't know that I've ever seen this specifically.
Patrick.
The most common example is an HOA that has an assessment that maintains the streets. That is not uncommon in some of our suburban communities where there are HOAs of residents in a neighborhood that pay a special assessment, and part of that special assessment goes towards maintenance of public improvements.
Yeah, that's kind of an apples and oranges. Sorry, my last
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
The gentleman that reached out to me adamantly against this was concerned about any vehicle damage or trying to come after the city if a vehicle is damaged because of the speed humps. What's the norm there?
So there is an accepted standard for building a speed hump, which includes signs and striping. And so the motorist is advised of what's ahead. It's no different than, for instance, when we're doing work on the side of the road and we cut the road away and we tell you that there's a drop-off. If you drive into the drop-off, I mean, it's signed, it's marked, and so it's the same sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Brett, go ahead.
So, since you've never been involved with the city requiring residents to take them out, pay for it, shouldn't we have some kind of time frame? Because if 10 years down the road it changes and there's a significant number of residents that's changed that were not involved in the signing of it in the first place, why would it be their responsibility to have them taken out?
Once again, this is a policy, and so when it gets removed, it goes back to the council for removal, and it gives you the opportunity at that point to decide, the intent is for them to remove it, but like you said, if time has changed, something dramatically changed, that would allow the council to decide at that future date whether they're gonna have to pay for it or not.
I think that the reason that that's in there is to try to dissuade folks from going back and forth, if that makes sense. And so, I don't
And
know.
to have options.
Yeah.
Angela, go ahead.
Thank you. So my question is about the enforcement of if they did want them taken out and everyone had to pay, how would that work? I know like with an HOA, they raised their fees, but would that be like a tax? How would that work?
I think the position, if I was the city attorney at that point, would just be the city's not removing them until the property owners within the affected area have paid us the money necessary to remove them. So it's not, means and methods is not something we would be determining. It would just be, have the property owners given us the money?
All right.
We're only voting on the 75%, right?
Yeah, I think we're going down the path a little bit wrong. We're talking about the amendment of 75% instead of the 67%. So any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. We are back to the motion as amended. Any more discussion on the motion as amended?
I don't know. First of all, could you clarify, Greg, that I'm saying the right thing? Let's say the speed limit is 25 miles an hour, and you have 100 cars that go through there. To make that 85 percentile limit, at least 15 of those 100 would have to go at least 32 miles an hour. Is that the way you read that? I mean, that's the 85% cutoff or percentile.
Right, so the way
It's number 2 under A.
Right. So the 85th percentile has to be 7 miles an hour above. So it's 25 mile an hour speed limit.
Yeah.
That means that the 85th percentile would have to be 32 miles per hour.
All right.
So that's not just, so if there's 100 cars, that means that there are more than 15 going 32 miles an hour or more.
Gotcha. Okay, it's not the average, it's 15 out of 100.
Percentiles.
Yeah, right, okay. Why isn't there, and I know these are international and national guidelines, but what if there's a section of road that is known for accidents, for people stomping on the brakes and causing rear end accidents, or kids getting hit on bicycles or whatever? Everything here is about speed or volume or whatever. Isn't there any way to take into consideration an accident-prone road?
Well, yeah, this is a policy adopted by the council. The council is free to adhere to the policy in the future, or even not adhere to the policy in the future, or make special exceptions, or, I mean, this is generally what we will be sharing with the public and saying, here's the process if you want to do this. The council's already pre-vetted this, and so anything that was above and beyond this, they'd have to come to the council and say, hey, this doesn't apply because it's a different circumstance than what you guys have set aside in your policy.
Okay. And when I was asking about the people driving through from the bank, it sounded like they're not in the area influence because they can get to the bank without going through the speed bumps.
Correct.
But everybody can get to the bank. Everybody can get to the post office. Everybody can get to every place else except the people that live in Bradford who drive to their homes. So I don't think, I have a real problem with the area influence. Bradford, you're absolutely right. Bradford Estates is a perfect example of a defined subdivision. But you go to Chris's or Allison's or any of our other, where are you going to draw the line? I mean, because people I know use Main Street to go to QT. That's the way they go. But if there were speed bumps, they wouldn't. They'd go over to Mullen and go up. They would go over to Y and go up. They wouldn't use Main Street to go to QT from this everybody that lives south of Y and Main. So I can't quite get the logic of saying the people at the bank don't go through there. I bet they go through there all the time. They can get there by going around the speed bumps just like everybody else can.
It's two different things that you're talking about.
Okay.
One is people who are driving through, and but the area of influence is talking about the people who it's going to directly affect. So the people who are directly affected on a daily basis are the people who live in the neighborhood who are going to drive across it.
Okay.
So they determine whether they want to have that speed hump in their neighborhood to affect the other people from outside.
Okay.
So if they determine by 75% that they would like to have that speed hump, they are now directing what's going to happen to the people from the outside when they come into their neighborhood.
Okay.
So the idea is the people in the neighborhood decide what happens in the neighborhood and not the passersby.
Okay, so let's just take a hypothetical one block, and there's all sorts of side streets and everything else. The only people that are affected for area influence are the 6 or 8 houses that are on that block, because everybody else can go around that block.
Well, I don't want to do a what if. I mean,
Well, no, this
because you'd have to see the map to see what the other streets around it are.
Well, but you're starting to get into saying, well, it might be more convenient for them to go on Main Street, just like it's more convenient for them to go on Bradford.
It's not necessarily convenience.
It's that they can go on other streets, and if they can, then the only people affected, in my opinion, the only person affected is the guy who's got the speed bump in front of his house, because he's going to hear a lot of cussing, he's going to hear a lot of people revving their motors, and during snow, maybe sliding into his yard. So I don't know. I know it's worked I know there's probably a common sense way of doing it. I'm just missing the point on that. But and finally, under removal, I think Joe touched on it too, and Patrick. Devices moved from a location under this process cannot be considered for reinstallation. Okay, let's say we put in the speed bumps when there was just a post office and an Arvis Bank, and then we took them out, and now we got a bar, we got Caliber Collision, we got 300 people in apartments, blah, blah, blah. Things change, and people might still come back with this petition and say, okay, we took them out 2 years ago, but now we got all this stuff going around us, and we got a lot more traffic. So I guess again,
We'll leave that to the council at the time.
Okay.
Who verifies signatures? And did we verify signatures the last time to make sure the homeowners signed them? I mean, we got to have a process here, right?
The city engineer does.
I don't want them. I don't need to verify them. But if we have a process, we got to have a process. Who's verifying signatures? Not in the policy.
Yeah, it says this petition will be verified by the city engineer.
Okay.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. See, if you guys would have let me done what I did earlier, we wouldn't have had to do all that. Consent agenda, one motion not available to approve the recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Communication from City Council. Chris?
We have Cinco de Mayo coming up on May 5th up here on Main Street. We also have Caliber Collision is presenting a Cars and Barbecue Sunday, May 21st. Open to the public. Anybody wants to come?
Allison?
Yeah, just some parks updates and events coming up. The Farmers Market opens Thursday, May 4th in the Assembly of God Church parking lot, and it will be every Thursday through September, 4 to 7 p.m., and currently there's more than 30 vendors signed up. Kids Night Out, Saturday, May 13th from 5:30 to 10. Swimming, hot dogs, nachos, games, and a movie. There's Corks and Canvas Adult Paint Night, 21 and over paint night at Memorial Station on May 18th. Each registration comes with a Dizzy Blender wine slush. And the next cruise night on Main Street will be May 20th. The food truck coming then is Chick-fil-A. Also, the playground equipment at Memorial Park, the weather's cooperating again for the install. So there's some new shade equipment, new playground equipment. So that should look really nice pretty soon.
Perry? What? You got anything? We'll change the way we're doing this. I'm going around the room.
I don't have anything.
Dave?
I don't have anything either.
James?
Had a good time last Friday with Grandview and Raymore and all my fellow, oh wait, none of you were there. Picking up all the trash.
There?
The mayor was there.
I got the email today.
So, Andrea made up for you. She picked up lots of trash. So, I think it was a good event and it looks clean for now. So don't throw your trash out on the roundabouts, please.
Rob?
Well, last week, April 19th, the TDD met. Still a $7 million plus project to widen Mullen Road, and it should be ready for bid by the end of the summer. However, the bank to issue the bonds to pay for the project hasn't been found yet, so there's still financial things, and they're also moving utilities to get ready for the project. That's it.
I just want to say thanks to the car show back. Enjoyed it. Even though I was there early, it was chilly.
All right,
Angela?
Oh.
I don't have anything.
gotta-
Thank you, though.
I need you down here. I need a monitor right here. All right, you don't have nothing? All right, all I have is talk about the trash thing. That was a good thing with us in Grandview. So I look forward to maybe that in the future, even us doing some streets on our own. So look more forward to that. And are you going to talk about this? Yep. Well, then I won't. I'll talk after you talk. Go ahead.
All right, I have a few notes. One is we had our HPO training April 12th to the 14th. We had 30 of our staff there, including the mayor. These lists are the people that went through that training that I left at your seats, and I can send that to you via email, Angela. And we are, I just invite you to ask them about the training because I think it was very well received. It's a very high quality training for them.
So I'll jump in now. So obviously I did go to it, and my 33, 4, 5 years of public service, I've been to a lot of trainings, team buildings, and this is by far one of the best ones I've ever been to. So I think we're moving in the right direction with this if we can get people to get bought in. So go ahead.
Very nice.
That's what I was going to say.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention that we, Public Safety Sales Tax Committee met this on Thursday, April 20th. And then Tourism Council met also that same day. And not a whole lot to report necessarily from either of those at this time. But the last thing I have on my report is it's on the agenda physically is the business license revocation hearing date. We do need to set a date for the revocation hearing. Eccentric has asked for a hearing with the city council, and they did so with using proper methodology, so we should probably give them an audience.
Do we have a time frame we have to do this by?
There's no timeline stated in the code. I would say, obviously, we are bound by the concept of reasonableness, so not 6 months from now.
How about a year?
I think we're still at that reasonableness bounds there.
Let's look at first meeting in June, since our next meeting will be a special one, and then the last one will have a lot of work, so let's look at the first meeting in June.
We can communicate that if that is what the...
Everybody
Can we
okay
do
with-
a special meeting though?
Or I guess we could do
Could do
that
that
too, if
too.
you guys wanna do that too.
I just don't want to take away from, I mean, last time we had a hearing, no work got done and it was 5 hours long and
It probably would behoove the council to not have it on a regular council meeting, because
There you
it could be long. That's a good point.
So let's pick a day in May and
take a, how about the 11th? I'm out of town.
what about, the 16th?
I'm out of town.
You're always out of
Really?
town.
No, you ain't.
Yeah, I am.
There's a planning
June?
commission meeting
Oh,
that
May.
night.
Oh, sorry.
That's a planning commission?
Yep.
How long do they meet that? You got something for that day?
I don't actually believe we have any items on that evening. We'll know for sure next week.
I don't wanna change that either, so
Well, if we could do it at 7 o'clock, I mean, if they do have items.
we could do that, 'cause
Yeah, if we did have a meeting, I would not expect, we don't have any public hearings scheduled that night, so I would not expect it to be a long meeting.
let's do that, 7 o'clock on the 16th.
Everybody else okay with that? All right. That's all I have.
Anything else? Items for review and discussion. Item A, UDC text amendment.
Back on March 28th, staff did present proposed UDC text amendments for a complete update to the land use table, including definitions and use standards. After publishing the April 4th Planning Commission agenda packet, staff did receive numerous questions and concerns from the community, particularly property owners and businesses along the North Scott corridor, regarding concerns about how those land use changes would impact their businesses. Therefore, staff did cancel the April 4th public hearing and provided the Planning Commission with an update at last Tuesday's meeting. Staff has postponed proceeding with the full updates at this time. However, we are proposing to bring forward a first round of updates that would expand certain land uses, including public and civic uses and arts and crafts manufacturing and production uses. This much smaller update will expand those uses into most commercial and industrial zoning districts, and we would also be expanding small retail sales to light industrial and limited manufacturing and production uses in C2 and C3 zoning districts with a special use permit. Those amendments will be brought forward to the Planning Commission next Tuesday at a public hearing on May 2nd, and we anticipate bringing those forward to City Council on May 30th. We also did post a tab on the Community Planning and Building webpage that includes all the memos and presentations that have been given to Planning Commission and City Council on this topic. So if anybody's interested in looking at that for more information, that is out there, and we will keep that tab updated as more updates are brought forward.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention on that, just to follow up on what Matt's saying, is we're going to take this in bite-sized chunks specifically to give every portion of this its due process to ensure that we're not doing the full scale, because there were some current concerns about the impact of the full scale UDC amendments. And so by taking it in one chunk at a time, every chunk gets its due process, and then any comments or any concerns can be fleshed out at that time.
Any questions? All right, that being said, I'd entertain a motion to enter executive session, discuss matters pertaining to the leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate according to Missouri State Statute 610.021.2, and that the record be closed and that the meeting adjourned from there.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Councilmember Pryan,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye. I didn't hear it.
Lawson. Aye. Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion passes.